Okay, so in this video I'm going to be going through over 100 tips and useful things within macOS which you might find useful if you own a Mac. I've split it into several different categories and chapters of each one are in the description as well. Also, something useful to know is that everything I mention in this video is on macOS Ventura, which is the latest release. Most, if not all of these will work in macOS Sonoma, which has been announced and will be releasing soon. Most of these have worked in macOS for years, and some of them are a bit newer. Basically, as long as you have one of these Macs listed on screen right now, and you're on the latest version of macOS, you have nothing to worry about, and all these should work for your Mac. A lot of the things I talk about in this video are using modifier keys, and if you're not sure what they are, if you look down on your Mac keyboard, a modifier key is something that adapts another key when it is used in combination with it, and the main modifier keys on Mac are Command, which is used for most things, Option, Control, and Shift. There's also FN, or a little globe icon in the bottom left. This is a function key. You probably won't use this for most things, and I don't think anything in this video uses the function key, so you can not worry about that. And also the final thing here, if you're using a Mac with a trackpad instead of a mouse, such as a MacBook, when I say right click, this is the trackpad equivalent to a two-finger click with the trackpad. Or you can also do this by holding the control key and then clicking with one finger. That simulates the same thing as a right click or a two-finger click. So I'm going to start off with the most basic thing, which is waking up and sleep. So when you come to your Mac, or you open the lid if it's a MacBook, you're going to see this screen, which is obviously the lock screen. If you have a Mac which has Touch ID, you can just rest your finger on the sensor and it will unlock. And you can also lock the Mac by pressing that button as well. So then there's the menu bar. This is the menu bar at the top of the screen. This might look a little bit thicker if you have a MacBook with a notch or the camera that's here. If there are items in the menu bar that you don't really need and it's just like wasting space, you can actually remove them. So you just need to hold the Command key and then click and drag it away until the cross is there and then let go and it's gone. Alternatively, if there's an option in Control Center, which is this extra set of controls, if there's an option in here that you like to use frequently, so for example, if I bring back the displays one, which I just removed, I just need to drag it up into the top and it's there. And you can do this with anything that's here. Alternatively, you can go to System Settings and then Control Center, and you can choose all of these options, either to show in the menu bar or not, or some things like focus, it will only show in the menu bar if it's active. So if I turn on Do Not Disturb, if you just watch in the top here, if I turn on Do Not Disturb, it appears, and then when I turn that off again, it will stay there for a second and then it will disappear in a second. And yeah, there's a lot of other different things you can choose to show or hide in the menu bar, or in Control Center as well. So the next thing is the Finder. The funny thing about the Finder is that there are actually a lot of cool and useful settings that are actually hidden in these menus up here. So most of these things are going to be like cool things to find in these menus. But first, before I do that, I want to show how to rename multiple files. So for example, if you have a bunch of files in a folder, for example, I've just put these on the desktop for now, but any file, if you select them all by just dragging, or you can also press Command A, and then rename, there's 3 different rename options. So you can either replace text, which will find the text in the existing name and you can replace it with something else. So if I just type, I don't know, hgrade99, and I want to replace that with Harrison, and then rename, it will replace that with all of these. I can press Command Z to undo that, and they'll go back to normal. And the other options are add text. So for example, there's a lot of different options with this one. If I want to add something after the file name, I can add, for example, version 2, and I would want this after. You can have it before if you want. and it will add version 2 at the end of the file names. And the third option is format, and this is a little bit more complex. This is more useful if you have a camera and you have lots of pictures taken on a camera. You can add a counter for each of the file names, so it goes up in from 1 to whatever, how many pictures you have. But yeah, this is a bit more complex, and you can probably mess around with this. I don't think I've personally used this very often before, but yeah. Another thing about the Finder is some shortcuts. So you won't see everything here because I don't have everything in the menu bar, but if you go up to the Go menu, you can see all the different primary directories here, and each of these has their own keyboard shortcut. So for example, if I press Shift Command A, it takes me to the applications. If I press Option Command L, it'll take me to the downloads. Shift Command R takes to AirDrop, and Shift Command D takes you to the desktop. Also, the things in the Finder sidebar, and this also applies to other apps with this sidebar, these can just be dragged to wherever you want them. And unlike the menu bar, you don't have to hold Command to move these. You can just drag them straight away. And you can also press Command 1, 2, 3, and 4 to switch between the 4 different Finder views. So for most things, you probably want icon or list. But column is kind of cool if you're in like a big directory, which I'm not going to show right now because I have lots of files here. But you can see each folder in a column if you've got lots of folders. But yeah, you can switch between these 4 views with Command 1, 2, 3, and 4. Another thing you might have noticed about the Finder is when I click on a file, I've got this panel of information here, and you can toggle this on or off by pressing Shift Command P, and it hides it, and Shift Command P again brings it back. And you can do this in any of the views. This will show up. And obviously in here it looks massive because I've only got one folder showing. And the gallery, it has it here as well. If you are on the list view, so press Command 2. If you are on this view and some of these options are a little bit small, you can press Command plus and they'll get a little bit bigger. And then Command minus makes them normal size again. It's just like a temporary thing if you want to zoom in a little bit. I don't actually know what it helps with. I mean, it makes the thumbnail slightly larger, but yeah, if that's useful, that's a thing you can do. And finally, before I get into the menu bar options, you can customize all the options in the toolbar, which is the thing at the top. So if there are any controls here that you don't use, you can customize this. You just right click, customize toolbar, and you can just drag anything up here. Likewise, you can drag anything out of here that you don't want. Or you can just drag this is the default one, which I don't use. But you can just drag this entire thing up there and it'll replace them with the default options. You can also choose to show icon and text like this, icon only, and text only, which yeah, this looks terrible. Okay, so for some more hidden things about the Finder, most of them are found in Finder settings. This used to be, on older versions of macOS, it used to be called preferences, just like system preference. It used to be called system preferences, but they're now called settings. You can get this all the time in every app by clicking the app name and then settings, or you can see the shortcut here is Command comma, which will do the same thing. And then in Finder settings, you're going to get this little window. This has lots of different options for various things, which I would recommend looking through and seeing if anything's useful. Firstly, you can choose to show different things on the desktop. So for example, I've got my hard drive thing here. I can turn this off by just unchecking hard disks and it'll go away. I just like to have that because I can always see how much storage I've got available. You can also choose to show these, which I don't have any of these connected right now. But for example, if you connected a thumb drive, that would show up on the desktop, or a CD or an iPod, or if you connected to a server, which some people do, all those things will show on the desktop when they're connected. You can also choose which folder opens by default when you open a new Finder window. So if I close this window here, when I first open the Finder, it will always go to the desktop for me because that's just what I prefer. But you can choose any folder to show up the first time you open the Finder, just by selecting either one of these or other, and then you can just choose literally any folder on your Mac. The next thing is tags, which I don't use at all, but if this is useful to you, you can either add new tags or you delete existing ones by pressing the plus or minus respectively. In the sidebar options, this is what I was referring to earlier, where you can choose to show which things you want in the sidebar. So yeah, you can add all these, and like I say, you can remove these from here, or you can just drag them out until you see the cross. And the ones in the locations section are here, but even though I've got all of these selected, they will only show up if they're actually active. So for example, I don't have any external disks connected, so there are none showing. This is an internal disk, this is the hard disk. Finally, in the advanced section, there are a few other cool little options you might want to choose. Show all file name extensions, so for example, as you can see here, I can see the file type of these. If I turn that off, when I refresh the Finder or restart the Mac, it will hide these, but I recommend keeping that turned on. Show a warning before changing an extension. So if I change this to, let's say, PNG, and then hit enter, it's going to give me a warning. Show a warning before removing from iCloud Drive. So the things on my desktop right now are in iCloud Drive. So if I turn this on, which I don't like because it gives me a message when I'm moving files all the time, but if I turn this on and I move a file from my desktop, which is in iCloud, to my downloads, which is not, this is the local downloads. If I move that to here, it's going to give me a warning because it's moved from iCloud Drive. But I have that turned off because I move files from iCloud to local storage all the time. Show a warning before emptying the bin. I'm not going to show that because I don't want to actually empty it, but when you empty the bin, or the trash as it's called in some regions, you'll get a warning before doing it. Remove items from the bin after 30 days. That's self-explanatory. So yeah, everything in here will automatically be deleted after 30 days. Usually it can take a little bit longer depending on how many files are in there. But yeah, if the thing's been in here for a month, you probably don't need them to be there. And then there are a few other options which are kind of minor. This one's kind of useful. So when you search something, by default in Mac, it will search the current folder. But you might want to set this to always search the entire Mac. And even if you have this set to the current folder, if you search, I don't know, Minecraft, and then hit return, I can either choose this current folder, or I can actually change this from the Finder as well to search the entire computer. So yeah, that's the Finder settings. But then there are also a few others in the View menu. So I recommend these ones here. I recommend having all of these turned on. So the sidebar is obviously this. There's no reason to have that turned off. Hide preview, which I talked about earlier, which is the Shift Command P. Hide the toolbar, which is this thing at the bottom. Oh, I don't know why I just removed that. The toolbar is the thing at the bottom that tells you information about the current folder that you're in. So if I go to the desktop, there's 8 items and 83 gigabytes available in iCloud. If I go to movies, movies is now in local storage, not iCloud, so it's telling me how many items and how much space is available locally, which is not iCloud. So yeah, I recommend having all these turned on. The tab bar is the thing here. So with the tab bar, if you have the hide tab bar turned off, and you only have one tab open, it will not show that tab bar. It will only show it when you add a new tab by pressing Command N. So yeah, I recommend having that turned on because it doesn't take up much space. And then the path bar is this thing at the bottom, which shows you where you are in your file system. And you can also double click these to get to there. So if you're in a big folder, which again I'm not going to show right now, but yeah, you can see there's different folders here and it just shows you where you are. And finally the status bar. And actually when I was talking about the toolbar, this thing at the bottom, that's actually wrong. It's actually the status bar. So the toolbar is the entire thing, at the top, the bottom and the side all disappear. So yeah, I got mixed up with that one, but I didn't even know that you could hide all that. That was horrible. Anyway, and one final thing about the Finder is you can actually change the app icon of some apps. This doesn't work for every app, but I'm going to show you how to change the icon of one app, let's say Minecraft. So if there's an app here you want to change, or if there's an app you've got here that you want to change the icon of, you can do that. So if you hold the command key on your keyboard and then press the icon in the dock, it will open where that app is located in the Finder. And then you need to right click it and then press Get Info, and you're going to get this little window here. And then I'm going to link this in the description, but there's a website called macosicons.com, and here you can choose loads of different icons that people have made. So I'm going to search Minecraft, and you can see loads of different ones that people have made. I'm not actually using any of these because I designed this one myself, even though it looks similar to this one. I made this myself. But yeah, you can choose any of these, and then if you just click on one, it will download, and it's going into my downloads folder. So if we just minimize this and go back to the info pane, you just need to go to your downloads, find the icon that was downloaded, and then I'm not going to do this because I don't want to change mine and it's a bit of a pain, but you just drag it from the downloads into this little icon here, and it will update, and then you might have to click the app for it to update, but yeah, that's how to change the icon. But like I say, it doesn't work with most things, like the Apple apps can't be changed. It's usually only third-party apps or apps that have not been downloaded from the App Store. Okay, so the next thing is screenshots. So the main control for taking a screenshot is Shift Command 3. That will take a screenshot of the full screen, like this. Alternatively, you can press Shift Command 4, and then you get this little crosshair with the screen coordinates kind of thing on it. And then you can click and drag any area on the screen, and then let go, and it'll take a screenshot. So if you have like a small area like this, take a screenshot, and you've got a little area of it. Also with Shift Command 4, when you're in this view, if you press the spacebar, it'll turn into a camera. And this allows you to take a screenshot of a certain window or area. So like the menu bar is highlighted, or the desktop, or even the dock. So if I press that, I get a picture of the dock by itself. And you can also do this with any window. So again, Shift Command 4, press the spacebar, and yeah, you can take a screenshot of this window here. But you probably noticed that by default it adds a shadow around the thing, which makes it like annoying for certain things. If you want to get rid of that, you just go back, Shift Command 4, press the spacebar, but before you actually press to take a screenshot of this window, hold the Option key and then press, and it won't have any shadow around it, it'll just be the window itself. Even though it's not actually curved, as you can see, but it doesn't have the shadow around it. And the last control for screenshots is Shift Command 5, so you've got Shift Command 3, 4 and 5. Shift Command 5 brings up this menu here, and this shows you all the different capturing options. So capture entire screen, which is like what I mentioned with Shift Command 3. Selected window, which is Shift Command 4 with the spacebar, and selected portion, which is Shift Command 4 by itself. Or you can just drag. The interface looks a little bit different, but you can just drag this wherever, and then capture when you want to do it. You can get out of this menu by pressing Escape, and also this menu allows you to do screen recording as well. So again, you can record a selected portion, or you can record the full screen. Screen recording doesn't allow you to record just a window if you like the screenshot does, but you can just kind of line this up properly if that's what you wanted to do, and then press record. I'm not going to record because I'm already recording through OBS, so yeah. Whenever you're in this view, if you just want to get out of it, you can just press Escape and it'll go away. And finally, in this little menu, you can change different settings, so like where the screenshots are saved to. By default, they're saved to the desktop like this, but you can choose any location in the Finder. You can also choose to have a timer, so if I capture a selected portion for a screenshot, I can press capture and it's going to count down before it actually takes the screenshot, and there it's taken it after 5 seconds or whatever time you choose. And then some other options, like you noticed it hovers around in the bottom corner before it saves. you can turn that off. Remember last selection, like every time I open Shift Command 5 it was positioned over here, or you can have it, if you turn this off, it will change to some default position every time you open this menu. And the mouse pointer is for, I believe it's for screenshots and recordings actually. So if I take a screenshot of the full screen, yeah, you can see the cursor is on it. You can turn that off so you don't see the cursor if you want. Okay, I'm definitely not recording this one 3 weeks later, but there is one thing I missed out of the screenshot section that I wanted to add in, and conveniently that takes this list up to 69, so I thought it was worth adding this one in. Anyway, when you take a screenshot on Mac, by default it will be saved in a PNG format, as you can see here. If I get info on this file, you can see it's 21 megabytes, nearly 22 megabytes. For one, this is a 4K screen. I don't know why it's showing as 5120 by 2880, but this is a 4K screenshot, and it's like 22 megabytes in PNG format. So to fix this, I recommend changing the format to JPEG, which will significantly reduce the file size, but also it will preserve a lot of the quality you get with PNG. So to change the file type of a screenshot, you need to open Terminal. You can search this on Spotlight like that, or you can go to the Launchpad and in the other folder, Terminal. And then in the terminal, I'll leave this command in the description. You need to type defaults write com.apple.screenCapture, type, and then you can choose anything like PNG, JPEG, anything you can think of as an image file type. So I'm going to put JPEG and then hit return, and then you can quit terminal. And now when we take a screenshot, we'll let it save. You can see it's JPEG and it's 1.1 megabyte. So if we just open the old one, it's gone from 22 megabytes down to 1. And also if we open these, you can barely tell a difference. If we open a new window, it's very difficult to tell the difference in quality. So yeah, I definitely recommend changing your screenshots to JPEG. So yeah, that's one thing I wanted to add into this section. Okay, so the next section is going to be about the dock. Most people are actually going to have this on the bottom of the screen like this, but I choose to show this on the side, just because it gives you a bit more vertical space. Especially if you have a large monitor, it's more space efficient to have this on the left or the right. You can actually move the dock to any side you want just by holding the Shift key and then clicking this little line here, and then you can drag it to the bottom, to the side, or to this side, just wherever you want it. And also, you probably noticed that when I moved it to the bottom, it kind of changed the size of it. You don't have to hold the Shift key to do this, but if you just drag up or down on here, you can change the size of it. I choose to have it on the side because I find it gives me more vertical space. The other thing you might have noticed is that I've got some folders here in the dock, and you can do this with any folder you want. So I've got the downloads, the desktop, and I've got my screenshots folder. So let's say I want my movies folder in the dock. You can literally just take it and drag it into the dock like that. And you can choose the view by right-clicking on this. You can display it as a folder like this, or you can display it as a stack, and the stack will show like the most recent files that are in there. Obviously you can click this and it'll show you everything in there, and there's also a few other view options. Depending on how many files are in this folder, you'll get different options. And then to remove this, like any app from the dock, you just click it, drag it until it says remove, and it'll go away. Another cool thing about the dock that you might use sometimes is that you can actually drag any file. So for example, I've got this screenshot. You can drag it onto any of these apps and it will open this file in that app. So for example, I've got this image. If I drag it into Pixelmator, it's going to open a new document automatically with this screenshot. And it even made the actual document the exact resolution of the image as well. Another thing about the dock is that I've got it showing all the time. You can make it so it hides automatically by going to Settings and then Desktop and Dock, and then automatically hide and show the dock. So it will only come up when you move your cursor to the edge. But I like to show it all the time. You can also hide the dock quickly with a keyboard shortcut, which is Option Command D, and it hides the dock. And then doing it again will show the dock permanently again. So that just performs the same action as going into Settings and then Desktop and Dock and then finding it there. One cool thing I like to have in the dock is System Settings, because if you right click on here you can get straight to any section of the settings. So for example, like I just said, Desktop and Dock, These are all in alphabetical order, so it's easy to get to. And also, if you hold the Option key on your keyboard before right-clicking on one of these, so for example, I have Twitter open right now. If I hold the Option key and right-click it, I get different options like force quit, whereas if you let go of Option, you just get the regular options like quit. So if this was like frozen or something, you can hold Option and force quit. Some apps give different options for this. But yeah, some of the things in the list change depending on whether you're holding Option or not. So another cool thing that's not really related to the dock, but I thought I'd just mention here, any of these menu options that has ... or an ellipsis after it, that means that when you click it, there's a window that follows. So for example, I press this and this comes up. In the Apple menu, for example, if I shut down, it means there's a window that comes after clicking that option. But you can bypass this by holding the Option key. And if you see, when I hold the Option key, these dots disappear. So now if I press shut down, it will immediately shut down without bringing up an extra window to click on first. So obviously you can see with log out, shut down, restart, and some of the other options change as well. But yeah, this works for a few different things. Like for example here, you can empty the bin. But if I hold Option, I can bypass any dialog box that comes up before. But yeah, for example, if Firefox was frozen, I can hold the Option key, right click, and force quit, which will obviously quit the app. You can also force quit apps from here, from the Apple menu. You go to force quit, it brings up this little window which has all the open apps, which you can click on and then force quit. The Finder works a little bit differently because the Finder can't actually be quit because it's always running, but you can relaunch it if there's an issue with it. Okay, so the next section is about uninstalling apps. So uninstalling apps and programs on Mac is a little bit confusing at first, but it's actually really simple. So let's go to the Launchpad and let's say there's an app here that I want to uninstall. Duolingo. I don't want to uninstall it. I've never actually used it on here. All you need to do is press and hold it until they start jiggling. Jiggle mode as they call it.
I just go into jiggle mode?
And then press the cross and delete. But you might realize that some of the apps don't have the cross next to it. And that's because it depends where the app came from. If they came from the App Store, like most of these, they'll have the cross. But some of them, like Coconut Battery or Minecraft, Discord, OBS, all those came from the web. They didn't come from the App Store. So to uninstall those, it's a little bit different. So let's say I want to uninstall Minecraft. Why would I want to do that? I don't know. But if I want to uninstall Minecraft, I can't just click and hold it. There's no X that shows up. So to uninstall Minecraft, what I have to do instead is go to the Finder and then go to the Applications folder. If you don't have that in the sidebar, you can go to Go and then Applications, or you can use Shift-Command-A. And then in here, you want to find the app that you want to uninstall. You can do this for any of these apps, so you don't actually have to use the press and hold and then press the cross. You don't have to do that. You can just uninstall any app from this folder. So this is where all your apps are stored. So if I want to find Minecraft, I'm just going to type it. And then to uninstall this app, I literally just drag it to the trash or the bin, whatever you want to call it. Oops, I didn't want to actually do that. Or you can press Command backspace, that will also delete it. So yeah, that's how to delete apps that didn't come from the Mac App Store. If there's an app that you have in the dock that you want to uninstall, you can obviously, like I said earlier, you can press Command and then press it, and then it will open that app in the Finder. And from there you can drag it to the trash. This next thing is about the Spotlight or Spotlight search. So Spotlight search is where you can literally search anything on your Mac, from files, through the web, or anything like that. To get Spotlight, you press Command space, and you get this little thing here. So this can be used to find anything. So if I type Minecraft, it's showing me apps, websites, things from my search history, and some documents as well. But you can also use this. You can also use Spotlight to convert random things. So if I typed £100, it shows me in US dollars, or 100 miles an hour converts to kilometers an hour. And yeah, basically anything you can think of you can put into here and then convert it. Or even like maths or distance. If you did search a file into here, so let's just search one of these screenshots here as an example. Screenshot. And it's going to show all these files. The next section is about Safari. I don't use this as my primary browser. I think most people using a Mac probably will, or maybe I'm wrong about that, but here are some random things about Safari. Some of these actually will work in other browsers like Firefox, Google Chrome, Opera, whatever you're using. Although I haven't actually tested Opera, so I probably shouldn't say that, but let's say you've got some websites open. So okay, so I've got some websites open here. If I accidentally quit Safari, like that, when I go back into here, if I want to restore that, I can just go up to the History tab and then reopen all windows from last session, and it'll bring them all back. Or if you just close a single tab like that, I just close Google, I can go to History, reopen last tab, and it brings it back. In Safari, you can also use picture-in-picture. So if I go to YouTube, click on a video here, and then if I right-click twice, for some reason you have to right-click twice, otherwise it doesn't work, because YouTube has its own little menu. So you right-click, and then right-click again, and then enter picture-in-picture, and then you can have this in any corner of the screen. You can even minimize this window or any window you've got, and this will stay on top of any app that you've got open. You can go back to the app that it's from, or you can pause it, or you can close it. Another thing you might want to do is, let's say you're at the keyboard and you don't want to go to the mouse. If you press Command L, that will bring up the search bar, so you can quickly search without having to move the mouse to the top and then click here. So I can press Command L and then go to twitter.com, or whatever it's called these days. Something else you can do, I'm going to use YouTube as an example. Let's say I'm uploading a video from here. So I'm going to go to here, upload video. When in Safari or any browser this works for, whenever you have the option to upload a file, and it brings up this Finder window here. Let's say I've got a Finder window already open with the video that I want to upload. I don't want to have to, if I've already got this window open here, I've got the right file here, I don't want to have to go through this menu and find it again. So what you can do is go to the window you've already found it on, drag it over here, and it will automatically open that folder. You might think that it's going to move the folder around, but this is actually a different type of Finder window, so it doesn't do that. So yeah, any file you have here, it will bring it right to the correct folder that you're in. And then finally with Safari, you can switch between all the open tabs by pressing Shift, Command, and then the square brackets. So square bracket right goes to that way, and then left, and you probably get the idea. But yeah, you can switch between tabs. Shift, Command, square brackets. Okay, so this next section is going to be about the mouse and the trackpad and some keyboard shortcuts as well. So let's say you're typing in a document and you want to get an emoji. You can bring up the emoji picker by pressing Control, Command, and Space. And then that brings up this massive list of different, not just emojis, but also all these different symbols. And you can obviously search like sad, and it brings up anything relating to that. And then to insert them, you just double click, and you can click on as many of these as you want, like that. If you have the trackpad on a MacBook or the trackpad for an iMac, I'm not using one right now, so I can't show this properly, but you can force click on any word anywhere, and you'll get some information about it. But if you don't have a trackpad, you can actually do the same thing by highlighting the word and then Control Command D, and you get this dictionary thing. There's also thesaurus as well, which is useful. But yeah, if you've got a trackpad, you can just force press on a word and it will bring this same thing up. Another thing that you might have is, let's say you've got a website where you want to copy some information over. So if I just select some text in this paragraph, I'm going to copy with Command C and then go back over here. If I press Command V right now, it's going to paste it, but it's going to keep all of the hyperlinks and the original text size, text font, and all that. If I want to paste this in, but keep the formatting that I've already set up for this document, I'm going to delete this. Instead, if you press Shift Option Command V, it will keep all the original formatting instead of using the formatting from the website or wherever you copied it from. Let's say you wanted to make your own hyperlink. You can do that with a keyboard shortcut. So let's say I want this Twitter. I want this to link to wikipedia.org.twitter or whatever. If I highlight this word like this, and then press Command K, it's going to ask for it's going to bring up a little dialog box asking for a link. I'm just going to go to Safari and I'm going to copy this link, Command C, and then I'm going to paste this into here, press OK, and now this is now a hyperlink to this website. If I now quit Safari, whenever I open this isn't going to work properly because I've got my default browser as Firefox, but I'm going to open with Safari, or you can just click this and it opens the link. If I press this without right click, it's going to open it in Firefox. Another cool keyboard shortcut you might want to use is Command Tab. So if you hold Command and then Tab, if you keep Command held down, you can switch between all the open apps that you've got here. This is quickly. So yeah, this is, if you can get used to this keyboard shortcut, you'll find this really useful. So let's say I've got multiple documents in TextEdit. I'm going to add a new one, and right now they're all in tabs, but if I just drag these out into separate windows. If I want to cycle through all the windows in one app, I can press Command and then the grave key, which is like a squiggly line next to the Shift key. And as you can see, it cycles through all the open windows within TextEdit, or whatever. You might have multiple Safari windows or Finder windows, whatever app it is. Command grave cycles through all of them. So let's go back to the Finder, and let's say I want to delete a file. You can do this with, obviously you can drag this to the bin like that, or you can right click it and then move to bin, or you can select the file, or you can select multiple files, and you can press Command and then backspace and it will go to the bin. But let's say you've got a file that you want to delete, but you don't want it to go into the trash, you just want it to be deleted immediately. This can actually be done. So let's use this picture of the Finder icon as an example. I'm just going to rename this so we can see it easier. If I press Command Option Backspace, we then get a dialog box that tells us that this is going to be immediately deleted. So if I press Delete and then we go to the trash, as you can see, the Finder.jpg isn't there because it's been deleted permanently. Some other miscellaneous things you might want to know is, like I mentioned earlier, you can go to the Apple menu and then force quit, and it brings you this little window with all the apps that you've got open. As you can see here, there's a shortcut for this. So if you press Option, Command, Escape, you can get to that quickly. If you're familiar with Windows, this is the equivalent of the Task Manager. In Windows, you'd press Control-Alt-Delete or Control-Alt-Backspace. That's the equivalent of this within macOS. So yeah, Command, Option, Escape. Especially if your computer's completely frozen for whatever reason, that's a cool keyboard shortcut you can get to, and you can quit whatever app you want to force quit, and you can do it from there. Again, like I said earlier, any app, you can press Command, comma, and it will open the settings for that app. So this is Safari. Obviously I showed it working in the Finder. Also works in Firefox, although Firefox has its own separate settings page. So it looks a little bit different here. But yeah, any app that will work. Firefox, it's still called Preferences, but in most apps it's going to be called Settings, because that's what Apple calls it. And then finally, one little shortcut is translation, which is useful in various different places. So wherever you are in the system, whether it's on a website, in a document, or wherever you are, you can highlight any text and then right click and press translate, and you get an instant translation right there. And obviously you can change the language. This actually only works with some languages right now because it's a fairly new feature, but you can change. But yeah, it's obviously detected that this is German, so it's automatically changed it. So it's automatically done it from German to English. And you can even play a preview of what this actually says.
Das ist egal. Denkt, wir sind Teil des Spiels.
Obviously in both languages.
It doesn't matter. He thinks we're part of the game.
So yeah, that's pretty useful. Obviously, you don't have to do a full sentence. It can just be a single word. Right click, translate, and it recognises it's German. Actually, I said that was the last keyboard shortcut, but it's actually not. So, as you know, you can log out or shut down or sleep or anything from here. But if you want to sleep the Mac, like I said before, you can either press the Touch ID button if you've got that, and it will sleep, or you can press Control Command Q, that will also sleep. And the keyboard shortcut to log out is, so this you would only really want to log out if you've got multiple users on your Mac, but the keyboard shortcut to log out is Shift Command Q, and you get this thing. In 60 seconds it will automatically log out if you just leave this, but yeah, you can do that from there. There isn't a keyboard shortcut to shut down, that's the only one that doesn't really have it, or restart either. But as you can see, the two shortcuts are here. Going back to the Finder, or the desktop, or wherever you are in the Finder, if you click on a file and then press the spacebar, you can preview it. It brings this, press the spacebar again, it goes back. And if there's multiple files in a folder, for example, I'm just going to bring some back from the trash. So yeah, let's say you've got multiple things here, you can press the spacebar and go up and down, and you've got a preview. This is a quick way to view a big preview of each file without actually opening each file individually, like this. And this actually also works with the folders that you might have put on the dock. So if you click on here, you can just hover the mouse over any of these and then press the space and you get the quick look preview. Okay, so this next section is going to be about system settings. Like I said before, this used to be called system preferences, and in older versions of macOS before Ventura, this looks very different. I'm not going to go through the entirety of this, I'm just going to show a few different things that I think are kind of useful. Let's say you wanted to know the password to your Wi-Fi network, if you don't know it off by heart. You can just go to Wi-Fi, and then next to any network here, press this, and then you can copy password, and it will obviously copy it to your clipboard. Another cool thing you can do is if you go to lock screen, and then show message when locked, you can turn this on and then press set. And you can actually choose whatever you want to say on the lock screen. So if I go to my lock screen right now, I've got most of this blurred out because it's got a phone number and email address, but you can choose any message to put here. So if your Mac got lost, people will see this when they open it up, and you can add some contact details there. And another cool thing is if you go to sound and then play sound on startup, every time you power on your Mac, so not from sleep, but when you shut it down and then power it on again, whenever it's powered on, you'll hear a startup chime. I wouldn't recommend having this turned on if you commonly shut down your Mac. If you're using the computer at late at night, it makes quite a noise. So in case you're curious, this is what the Mac startup chime is like. So yeah, that's what you'll hear every time you start your Mac, if you have that turned on. One thing about Mac that I find quite annoying that's on by default is minimize windows in application icon is turned off, which means whenever you minimize a window, it goes into here. And if you've got multiple windows open and you minimize all these, they all end up like in a mess down here. So what I really recommend is in system settings, if you turn on minimize windows into application icon, then whenever you minimize these, I'm just going to bring these back. Whenever you minimize these, they'll go right into the correct icon, and it's not going to clutter everything down here or wherever. I don't know why that's not turned on by default, but yeah, I really recommend it. Another cool thing you can do in settings is, let's say I've got an app like TextEdit where there's one of the options in here that I use quite often, rename. But as you can see here, there isn't a keyboard shortcut for it within TextEdit. I can actually add my own custom keyboard shortcut to this. If you go to settings and then go to keyboard, wherever that is. I really hate the new settings. And then keyboard shortcuts, and then app shortcuts, and then you want to press the plus here and choose the app that you want to set the keyboard shortcut to. I wouldn't recommend all applications because the shortcut that you choose might already interfere with an existing shortcut within other apps. So I'm going to choose TextEdit. Oh god, I have too many apps here. And then the menu title, and then you need to enter the menu title. This is the exact path that you go to get to this menu. So for me, it's file and rename ... So what I have to type is file, and then dash, and then the arrow to the right, Just ignore this is because I got a keyboard shortcut for the arrow. And then rename ... You have to type it exactly as it appears in this menu, with the capital letters and the ... and no spaces. And then the keyboard shortcut, let's say I want to have this as Shift Command R, and then press done. So now whenever I'm in TextEdit now, I can press Shift Command R and it allows me to rename the document quickly. Whereas previously there was no shortcut for this. This is a bad example really because you can just click this to rename the document, but it's the easiest example I could show off. If there's one of these that you actually want to delete now, like this one, it was just an example, you can just click it and then press the minus and then same for this as well, and then press done. The next thing is about changing brightness and sound. So when you change the volume, you obviously see this, and you get the sound effect that plays to tell you how loud it is. Well, if you hold Shift before changing volume, you can actually prevent that sound from playing if it's a bit annoying. Or if you want to turn it off permanently, you can go to Settings, Sound, play feedback when volume is changed, and when you turn that off, you don't even have to hold Shift, and it will never play a sound. However, if you have this turned off, and you hold Shift, it will actually reverse it and turn it on temporarily. So I'm holding Shift and it's playing a sound even though I've not turned off. So it does the opposite of what you've got it configured to. Another cool thing about the volume is, obviously, this is more useful with brightness really, but I can't show that because I'm on an external display. But if you want to adjust the volume or brightness a little bit more specifically, you can hold Shift and Option and then change the brightness or the volume. And as you can see, it will go up in quarter increments instead of full ones. So without it, it's like full bars. But if you press Shift Option, it's in quarter increments. So you get like a bit more refined control over that. And yeah, like that. Like I said, this works for brightness as well, but I can't show that on here because I'm on an external display. This next section is about windows and tabs. So let's say I've got two windows open. I've got Safari and the Finder. If I hover my mouse over this green dot, I get these options here. Or you can, alternatively, you can just press and hold it and you get the same thing. So let's say I want to have the Finder on the right, and then I can choose any other open windows. I've only got one at the minute. I click this and then I can have them split screen. And I can change this, the size of each one. And if I wanted to swap which side these are on, I just press the top of it and I can switch them to any side. And to get out of this, you can either press Escape, and it will leave one of them in full screen for some reason. But you just go back into it, and I'll press the green dot to exit full screen. Some random other keyboard shortcuts for managing windows is Command M will minimize, Command Q will quit an app. Unlike in Windows, pressing the X doesn't actually quit the app, as you can see by this dot that indicates the app's still open. In Mac, you have to actually quit the app for it to be completely quit. And if you just want to close this window, let's say you've got multiple windows, if you press Command W, you can close one window like this. Let's say you've got multiple windows open in the same app, like for example TextEdit. I've got all these documents open. If I want to merge these all into the single window and then have them tabbed instead, I just go to Window and then Merge All Windows, and now they're all in the same window. Another thing you can do is, if you've got two windows open, if you've got windows open like this, if you want to move the window that's behind without it bringing it forward like that, if you hold Command, you can just move this behind this without it bringing it forward. So yeah, hold Command, and then you can drag this wherever without it bringing it forward. And when you're resizing windows, if you usually do this, but let's say you want to resize it in the middle, you might drag it all the way out and then move it back. Or what you can actually do is hold the Option key and then drag it, and it will drag it from the center like this. The next thing I'm going to show is something you can do within any document you've got open, so in Notes, in TextEdit, or Word, Microsoft Word, whatever you're using. Let's say I want to add a picture into this document. but it's a picture that I've not actually taken yet. Well, if you've got an iPhone or an iPad nearby, if you right click and then press insert from iPhone or iPad, you can quickly take a picture from any device you've got nearby. So I'm going to take a picture from my iPhone, and then it's going to prompt me here, take a picture, and it automatically opens the camera on my phone. And I'm going to take a picture, and then press use photo on the iPhone, and as you can see, it inserts the picture into the document like that. It doesn't actually have to be a picture either. You can also scan a document if you've got that, because as you can see, if you go back to this menu, you can scan a document. I don't have any documents around to scan, so I can't really show that, but it works exactly the same as taking a picture. You can also add a sketch. This is mainly useful if you've got an iPad, but obviously on a Mac, when you've got a mouse, it's difficult to do a drawing or whatever. So if you press add a sketch, it's going to prompt me to do a sketch on my iPhone. So I'm just going to do a smiley face. And then press done, and scroll down. The drawing appeared in the document. Another thing relating to drawing and stuff is if you've got a picture and you want to add something to it, I'm going to open this in preview. And if you click the pencil icon here, this is Markup, and you can either draw on it or whatever. You can add a shape, which that's not a shape. Ah, there, here. This next section is going to be about Siri. Now, I actually have Siri turned off on my Mac because I never use it. I never find it useful. The thing is with Siri is it can be useful, but if you don't like talking to your Mac, it can be kind of weird. That's why I have it turned off. If you feel the same, you can actually go to Settings and then Accessibility and then Siri and then enable Type to Siri. So when you turn this on, whenever you invoke Siri, instead of it listening to your voice, you get a little box to type in. So you can type anything in here, like, so for example, how much storage left? And there we go, that's why I don't use Siri. More seriously, you can actually ask it stuff, like, what's my Discord password? And it will obviously bring me to my passwords. But yeah, to be honest, I just recommend turning Siri off altogether, because for me personally, I can never get it to be useful for anything. So this next thing is called voice control. This is a cool accessibility feature, but it's actually useful for anyone really. And I just wanted to show it off because it's really cool. So to turn on voice control, you can go to Settings, Accessibility, and then Voice Control. And then I'm going to turn this on. And you're going to have to put your password in because this allows you to control your entire Mac with just your voice and nothing else, no mouse, no keyboard or anything else. So what you can do with this turned on is you can give any command to the Mac and it will do it. So open Safari, Minecraft.net, and for some reason I can't get it to actually search, so I'm going to have to press the enter on the keyboard. There is a way to make it search by itself, I'm just not sure how. Scroll down. Scroll down. Press Get Minecraft. Quit Safari. Open Text Edit. Open Document. Show numbers. 48. Minecraft is the worst game ever. Select all. Minecraft, but the Minecraft is Minecraft. Select all. Italicize that. Increase the text size. I can't actually get this to work as well as I would have liked because I don't know all the different commands. But yeah, you get the idea. You can just control your entire Mac with your voice. And once you learn the different commands for it, it can be a really cool thing. And before I finish this video, there's one extra thing I want to show you how to do because I think it's quite cool. So if there's any app on your Mac that you want to get the the app icon for, you can do that and get the highest resolution app icon. I mean, look at the Final Cut Pro icon. Look how sexy that is. So for example, let's say I want the Final Cut Pro icon. So like I mentioned earlier, you can hold the command key and then press the icon in the dock, and it'll open this app in the applications folder. And then while this app's selected, you're going to press Command I to get the info. You can also right click and press Get Info. And then on this window here, you just want to click on this icon until it has a blue outline around it. And then on the keyboard, press Copy, Command C, and that's going to copy this icon to the clipboard. And then you want to open Preview. So this is an app that is in here somewhere. And then File, New from Clipboard, as you can see, it recognizes something that's in the clipboard. And as soon as I open a new preview document, it's got the Final Cut Pro icon in the from the clipboard. And there's a lot of different resolution versions of it, but the number 1 is the highest, as you can see. And if you press File, Save, I'm going to save this to the desktop, call it Final Cut Pro, and you want to save this as, in fact, you want to hold the Option key and then press this, and then you get some more options. So ICNS is the icon file for Mac, and then save to desktop. And as we can see, we can just close this, and now we've got the icon file for that app icon. So now you've got a high resolution. It's a 1024 by 1024 resolution of any app icon. I have no idea why you would want this, but I think it's cool, and so I thought I'd share it. So yeah, that has been probably over 100 things. I mean, I probably counted them on screen. I just haven't counted them in my head while recording this. If there's anything in this video that you found confusing or I didn't explain it clearly, which is probably a lot of things because I've never recorded a video like this before. But yeah, if there's anything that you're not sure about or something that isn't working as I showed it to be, then you can just leave a comment and I'll respond to every comment on this video. So yeah, any issues with anything I said, just leave a comment and I'll be able to help it out, hopefully. So yeah, thanks for watching.